regular meeting for October 13th, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Campbell. Here. Mrs. Grandison. Here. Mrs. Host.
Here.
Mr. Peters.
Here.
Mrs. Wolf.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The vision for the Claymont City School District is we will provide each student with an opportunity for a lifetime of success. Our mission is to create an environment that nurtures, develops, and empowers each student. Our next meeting will be on November 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here in the administrative office. Are there any addendums, additions, or corrections?
Yes, we have several. So there was, back with the printed staple copy, there was an extra copy for the audience. But treasurer's reports and recommendations, we need to add item H, which is the financial forecast. And then under superintendent's recommendations, we need to add the resignation of Richard Water, intermediate custodian. That's effective the 10th of October. We're going to separate out tuition reimbursement for Craig Post, and we'll add him under item L to approve tuition reimbursement for CEA negotiated agreement for Craig Post of $1,200. So just need a motion and a second for the addendums and corrections.
Motion. Second.
Saul and Martha? Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison.
Yes.
Mrs. Host.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the addendums.
I'll make a motion.
Lois,
Second.
Saul. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Grandison.
Yes.
Mr. Peters.
Yes.
Ms. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Host.
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf.
Yes. Commendations?
Commendations, the ones we have that are listed on the agenda are the Moomaw Foundation for $250 for Project Lead the Way program, and Project Lead the Way is part of our STEM, our science, technology, engineering, and math. So we're very appreciative of the Moomaw Foundation for the $250 donation. And also the Uricksville Eagles, they're making a $12,000 donation. Last year we had the guys with ties in the spring. This year we're adding at the intermediate girls with pearls, and also having the guys with ties as well. I can speak specifically to the guys with ties, but it was teaching you respect, responsibility to the boys on how to grow up and develop into a man. And we had community members who came in on those days that we had that activity, and they were dressed in their ties, and we learned handshakes, etc. So there is a girls program, and that will begin this year as well. And we thank the Uricksville Eagles for that donation.
Okay, public participation. Mr. O'Hara.
Five minutes, that's
5
still the
minutes,
rules?
yep.
Are you
We're
going to answer questions tonight? Anything?
No, it's public participation. You're welcome to speak and anything you would
Okay,
like
no,
to say
I
to
know,
the
I didn't
board.
know, you didn't say it, usually you do, okay? All right, first thing, there is a chain of command with you guys. And superintendent answers to the board members. The board members answer to the taxpayers. I just want everybody, I want to clarify. At any meeting I have attended, whether it's a council meeting, a water board meeting, the attendees have their questions answered. This is the only meeting place I've ever attended where you don't get any response from the board, superintendent, or anybody else. At your special meeting in April of 25, it was stated that there wasn't any input from the community. This was because the taxpayers did not know about the meeting. The board approved the transfer of 4.2 mil inside mills. The board approved the you were at almost the 20 mil floor for residential properties. This is resulting, it's going to be an increase of approximately $140 per year in real estate taxes for everybody. This is taxation without representation. The taxpayer currently pays almost 55% of their real estate taxes to Claymont schools. This board has spent $3 million between the two schools in the last couple of years that you want to tear down. That's the intermediate, the Angel up here, and junior high. Now you want to spend millions of dollars on a campus that will only have 20 classrooms addition. This is not very good stewards of the taxpayers' money, the way I see it, when you have two schools that already is existing. Why would you want to bury the taxpayers with additional taxes when you have the Angel on the Hill over here, the intermediate, the last remaining school in Denison from the consolidation back in '65? They're both structurally sound, the junior high and the intermediate. If you're going to tear down schools, tear down Trenton and Eastport. They're the smallest, and keep the junior high and the Angel on the Hill. They can accommodate those students and save the taxpayers a bunch of money, which you're going to add on to the high school for your campus. I'm asking the board to rescind the transfer of the 4.2 inside mills from the general fund to the permanent improvement, which will save the taxpayers the additional $140 plus increase on their real estate taxes. Added property taxes will hurt senior citizens and young families the most. In closing, I want to know if by adding on 20 classrooms to make a campus out at the high school, does this make the students any smarter? I know you ain't gonna answer the question, but you know, that's what I'd like to know. A building doesn't make our students smarter. It is the education that they receive.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Doley.
Hope I talk loud enough. Basically, most people's upset the way this was done. It should have been put on the ballot, okay? I think the only ones that really approve it were the board members. I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people's upset about this. And, you know, I think you need to rescind the order. Last week, everybody got their reassessment of their property tax. You're going to get a big raise anyway. So I think it's something you need to look at, you know, because you got to remember one thing. A lot of the people in this community can't afford that big tax increase. Yuns can, I can, not everybody. So I think you really need to consider it. I think you need to rescind it. And the only other question I got, and you might not answer it, what are you going to do with this extra money if you don't rescind it? What's the purpose? Can anybody answer that? I mean, Yuns passed it. What are you going to do with the extra money that you get from changing this millage from general to permanent?
Do you have
Yeah,
any?
what are you
do you have
going to
any-
do? What are you going to do with the money? That's what we're asking. I mean, we're entitled to that answer, aren't we? That's our tax money you're going to take and use. Are you going to use it? Are you going to use it like what John said, to tear down these school buildings, which don't need torn down, in my opinion? Most people in this community don't want them torn down. So that's basically about all I got to say, but I think you need to think it over, and I think you need to rescind that order. Because what I hear about, the only ones that really like this are the ones sitting right here on this board. That's all I got to say.
I think we need to clarify something. The two buildings that potentially could come down are not structurally sound.
What architect assessed that?
No. Do you have anything more to add, Mr. Doley?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
done.
Mr. DiNonato? Mr. O'Hara, we are not having a conversation about this. This is public participation, and anybody else that would like to participate, we've received. Mr. DiDonato?
Yeah, I just want to echo
Thank you.
one thing. Council unanimously has called for the repeal of this also. I think it was the right way to do it. There should be full disclosure. Transparency should exist here. If you believe in something, I've always operated my whole life, then you fight for it and you tell why. At the end of the day, you still had that vote. You still could have had public hearings and you still could have voted the way you wanted, but you tell what you wanted. Secondly, and Michelle, I don't say this in saying, but making a comment publicly in a sense, they're not safe. Do you realize we have kids in it?
I didn't say they were safe.
Okay.
He said they were structurally
Yeah.
sound.
But you do get what I'm saying. There's a
There's-
lot of
there's
us
a
that are
lot
like,
of
we hear the rumor
structural
mills,
issues.
but I would caution all of you. I've heard the rumor mill. I know some have said this coming from this table up here, because I can tell you the people that said it to, and I caution you, you've got kids in those buildings. You've dumped $3 million in this building in the last 5 years. You dumped $3 million in there. You just put a brand new gymnasium floor in there this summer in that building. And then we announced in August that we may look at closing them in 2 years. Again, it goes back to my comment when I said in August, Superintendent Lois was there and Cindy was there and Mayor Duke was there. I said, you have our heads spinning out here in the public. This moving kids, shuffling kids, moving around. What is the game plan and what is the solution? But we know we have problems. Our scoring, Tuscarawas County, we're the lowest. What are we doing to address that? Bullying issue. I know 2 kids were pulled from Claymont, 3 weeks ago in the same week. One went to Digital Academy and one went to Indian Valley. What are we doing to address that? Because you're losing money from that. Thousands of dollars when they transfer to another area that we should be chasing down and figuring out what do we do to fix it. But I just want to close and say, you know, as far as the thing on the money, $200 is what I'm going to be paying. And I think I had a right to know. I could pay, but I think I have a right to know, and I think I have a right to know what the purpose of it is for. We put more effort to pass a levy 5 years ago on that bond levy. All it was is converting the permanent levy we had before, the improvement levy, over to a bond levy, and it was only for $15, $20 a year. We went out, we had meetings at the school buildings, we talked to people, we told people, we asked you to continue that $5 million bond, and we told people what we were gonna do with it. We're gonna buy buses, we're gonna buy boilers, we're gonna do the stadium in 3 stages, we're gonna put roofs on the building. We told people, why wouldn't we do this now? So that's my comment. I will just say, you know, I've never voted against school levy. I love this community, but I think this is crap when somebody tacks on a tax on you and does it basically silently and don't have a plan or an explanation for it. Thank you.
Buck Cottrell?
Evening, guys. For those of you who don't know me, I am Buck Cottrell. I serve as president of Yorkshire Council. Recently, at the request of Yorkshire Council members, I sent a letter to the school board, the president, and Cindy, and asking to the board to attend their upcoming Yorkshire Council meeting to discuss the school, and I asked the whole board to be there. After sending out the letter, I received a call from Superintendent Wrench. Mr. Wrench told me that no one from the school board would be attending a Yorkshire Council meeting, as they weren't going to be subject themselves to ridicule. He told me that he would send me a written response. I then received a letter, which indicated that the school board members had decided not to appear at the Yorkshire Council meeting, and instead, Yorkshire Council members would need to come to the school board meeting in order to discuss the real estate tax matter. School board members Michelle Wolf and Sol Peters appeared at the city council meeting last Thursday. Michelle and Sol told Yorkshire Council members they were never advised until after you guys sent me a letter that we even invited you. Sol and Michelle both said they were not even advised by you guys. Mr. Rentz or anyone, I had one sent out. They indicated that they did not authorize anyone to tell Yorkshire Council that they were refusing to appear at Yorkshire Council. In fact, Ms. Peters let me know the school board members, Cindy Host and Mr. Rentz, does not speak for him. And I think it was crap. These people did not know, didn't get a chance to even know that we invited all of you guys to the meeting. It is very concerning. I hear that this decision are apparently being made by a select few associated with the school and school board, not by the whole school board. I felt it is necessary to bring this to light when this has occurred. At this time, I hereby request that the school board members vote now to rescind this real estate tax increase that recently passed. And if it is the proper, and you guys could do a proper motion to vote now to rescind this. Thank you.
People.
So, good evening, everyone, and I want to back up a little history here. So Greg and I received a phone call several months ago to attend a meeting with the superintendent, several of the members. A little shocking to me, not here to fault, I'm just saying that we found out that day what this issue was really about. So, I think what I can tell you is in my 2 years of being mayor, the public outcry that I've received that is the most of any topic that I've had. So people are concerned about the lack of transparency, and it's a serious matter that I've been approached about many, many times. I think there's times we have to do do-overs in life, and it's time to reconsider. So, my plea is that you reconsider, think about this, the long-term effects, the plan. I know in that meeting several months ago, I asked about a study. What does this do to our communities? And the title of my presentation tonight when I made my notes was Impact. It's about the impact on the communities. It's a long-term, forever impact. And, I've learned a lot being mayor that, our folks in Yerkesville are struggling, most of them. And we're working hard on a culture change from our administration and city council. But most of the people, they just don't have it. The high landlord rates and the median household income, and so they're struggling. So again, I would ask why. I mean, the question needs to be asked why, and to look at the big picture, why things are changing. We can't always blame it on the state or other factors. We have to look internally as to why. So my plea to you tonight is please reconsider. This is an impact that will last a lifetime, and do what's best for the communities, and the people are struggling out there and they need a break. So thank you.
Administrative reports. Do any of the administrators have anything to add to what was already been submitted?
I'll just add,
Okay.
the Claymont Cares, I just wanted to go a little in depth for what that was. And back in August, our administration team had held a chicken barbecue because a couple years ago, we had a lot of staff members who were faced with catastrophic situations. Some of them were off work for extended periods of time, some even without paid sick leave. The administration had supported through gene donations and wanted to possibly do more. So our first fundraiser was held December 24th. Outside businesses donated to the dinner, as well as the administration donated to the pasta dinner. Money was raised around $4,000 and is being housed within the Claymont Wrestling Boosters 503C account. The Claymont Best Wrestling Boosters have written and checks when contacted for those families who the money was raised for. Upon receipt of the chicken dinner, our checks, 10 checks were sent out to various staff members who were having various health issues and family crises in which the staff members missed work. Out of respect for the staff members, I don't want to share their names, but have received notes of thanks and for the monetary donation in their time of need. Prior to the last dinner that we held in August, we only had $136 left in the account with the Claymont Wrestling Boosters. This past dinner, we had a profit of $4,100, and the money was counted and banked again with the Claymont Wrestling Boosters. The only cost was paying for the chickens that came from that profit, and the administration donated all the other items. Staff did donate to the raffle baskets as well. The dinner was a success and began with the purpose of being able to help those staff members who were in need and with a little assistance while they're off of work for extended periods of time, to tend to a medical situations or any other reasons why they were for a longer period of time. So just to give a little clarification of what that chicken dinner was held for, and the purpose of what was held. And we hope not to have to dip into that money as frequently as we did when we held the pasta dinner. But the sole purpose was to help our staff members, and from our administrative team, we wanted to do just what we could do, and that was one step to help others.
Great, thank you for clarifying that. Mrs. Miles?
All right, every year I get federal programs dollars allocated to the district. I'm the federal programs consultant. So I am going to just kind of share the money that we've got from the federal government through all the grants. And there's a little information about what the purpose of the grant is. And then we also have a slide after each one about how we are spending the money here at our district. So the Title I, Improving Basic Programs, the purpose of that is to ensure children have a fair, equal, significant opportunity to obtain a high-quality education and reach, at minimum, proficiency on the challenging state academic achievement standards. We get this year $762,536.99, and that goes, we get that because of the poverty level that we have. So go to the next slide, Will, please. All right, so with this money, we pay employee salaries, fringes, and I listed the title teachers that we have, that their salaries are paid through that money. Purchase services, we had a few with Orton Gillingham training this year, some of the newbies that we hired. Title I meetings, PD and conferences, $18,250. We also purchase supplies. We have to put so much money into family engagement. So each building has been allocated a certain amount of money, as well as we set aside money for the annual reading festival, which is coming up that first Saturday in November. We have to set aside money for homeless. So we've got about $3,000 in the budget for supporting any needs of our homeless students. Instructional materials, we have $68,134.22. We also get funds for Immaculate Conception. We have to, we're their fiscal agent, so we're monitoring their non-public money. They get $28,771.18, and that is to provide a Title I teacher at that location. The person we have there is a part-time teacher. And then they also are required to spend money in family engagement. And based on the percentage that they're required, they get $290.61. Next fund. Title II is our next one. The title is Supporting Effective Instruction. And basically this is for the professional development costs in our district. Our allocation is $105,069.97. I'm not going to read all of that to you, but it's about the effectiveness of teachers, principals, and other school leaders, improving them and building their capacity. So go ahead and go to the next slide because I can't see that pie chart clear back from here. So this is what the pie chart basically says. We spend in curriculum and assessment resources this year, $30,006.20. PSYOP training is a training that we're bringing here to the district. We'll be spending 2 days between October 24th and a half a day in November and a half a day in March for the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol training. Math consultant. Last year, we brought a math consultant in to work one-on-one with our kindergarten math teachers. This year, we're moving that consultant to our elementary building to work hand in hand with our first and second grade staff at a cost of $16,800. The plan, as long as this Title II money continues, there's been some rumor that Title II might be cut at the federal level. I have a conference I'm going to at the end of this month. We'll hopefully find out some more information about that. If it does get allocated next year, again, our math consultant will work with our 3 to 5 building math teachers. We also cover sub costs because that math consultant pulls teachers out of the classroom. So we have to have adults in that classroom to cover those classes with students. So I've allocated about $10,000 for that. There are some other staff training expenses that we allocated about $10,000 for, and this specifically goes to those teachers that we don't provide PD here for, like our guidance counselors and our art teacher and our music teacher. You know, we only have 1 or 2 teachers that have that focus. So they go away and they get their training somewhere else with other art teachers. Non-public also gets a share of that money in the amount of $79.84. And then supplies for our PD, for our things that we need for the trainings, $11,278.38. The next one is Title IV. Title IV federal grants are to support students in academic enrichment. The 3 purposes of fund are to support well-rounded educational opportunities, activities for health and safety safe and healthy schools, and to support the effective use of technology. And you'll see the different percentages of the $59,728 that we get. 21.7% goes to well-rounded education, and that's to support STEM activities in our classrooms and PBIS programs. 16.7% goes towards technology, and that technology cost is not for infrastructure. It is actually to pay for an educational resource. We use Leader in Me, and that total cost for Leader in Me is about $28,000 for the year, and part of that is the digital platform that we get. So the cost for technology comes from that. And then 61.6% is wrapped up in safe and healthy schools, which is the other cost, the rest of the cost for Leader in Me. We purchased last year, I believe, or maybe 2 years ago, the Visit You badge visitor system. So when people come to our buildings, they have to sign in, they scan their driver's license, they get a badge so that we know that when they're coming into their buildings, they are safe to be in our buildings. And then we also have non-public camera security system. And I left something off of here. Another part of the safe and healthy schools, we bought a platform for monitoring attendance and discipline in our buildings. The attendance is something that we've worked really, really hard to reduce our chronic absenteeism across our district. We actually scored very well on our local report card from all the efforts we put in last year. And we're continuing with that same attendance K-12 program, and we've added the discipline piece onto that. Next one. All right, I just kind of went over all of that, so we can kind of skip all of those. That's just how the cost of everything that we just mentioned. Title V. Title V is for rural and low income. We get $56,704.92 this year. And I want to say that's what we're allocated. That possibly does change throughout the year. The state does a reassessment. I don't know if that reallocation, I'm not sure what the terminology is, around January-ish. And sometimes we get a little bit more money and sometimes they take away money. So we've got to be careful that we're not spending money that we don't have. So we kind of spread that out throughout the year. So if we have to make a reduction in our budget, we're able to do that. For Title V, the grant purpose is to address the challenges that rural districts like us face: diverse curriculum, parent involvement, teacher recruitment and retention, professional development, education, technology infrastructure, and access. So if you go to the next page, we'll mention what we're doing with that right now. In the supplies budget of $31,704.92, we are adding view boards. Our technology with the view board is what you are looking at right now with the presentation for our preschool. We used COVID money, school quality improvement money. There was another grant that we had, equal opportunity grant money to purchase view boards for various buildings or grade levels before, and the only ones that do not have a view board yet are our preschool. And also that money is set aside for intervention materials for Read 180 and Math 180. We are adding some training again for Read 180. We've added teachers in that intervention program. Mr. Watkins and I had conversed a little bit about that today. And then admin, professional learning, if they want to go expand some of their knowledge and learning, we set aside some money for them as well. So there's $10,000 built into this budget, this grant for that. Career STEM field trips, we set aside $10,000. And middle school, high school parent engagement. In the Title I budget, the first one we talked about, we are required to have family engagement for those Title I buildings. Middle school and high school are not a Title I building, but we still want to give them funding to provide family engagement activities in those buildings as well. So I use this budget to set aside money for them as well. Okay, we have a couple more, I think. IDEAB is special ed. Our allocation this year has been reduced to $436,693.65. And this is specifically to support our students with disabilities in our school district. And we have a lot of students that are identified with special needs. Go ahead and turn. Oh, skip back. Went too far. All right, so the budget expenses for this, they pay for salaries and fringes of 7 teachers, aides, and speech employees at the cost of $414,000. Purchase services, we also help fund a portion of a school psychologist's salary. Brawley is a digital platform to document the interventions that are taking place, and that kind of goes along with the IEP to document what we're doing, that we're saying we're doing on the IEP services. So that's $79.50. OG licenses, there's a digital platform for our special ed teachers that use Orton Gillingham. It's about $200 per teacher that wants to use that, so we set aside money for licensing. There or additional teachers, newbie teachers hired that also are going through Orton Gillingham training at the cost of about $4,500. Evaluation services, we set aside $10,000. That's for people that have to come into our district and evaluate our high need students. We have to bring somebody from another entity to do that evaluation. So we set aside money for that. Supplies and materials, we've set aside $13,843.65. That is never enough money to address the intervention needs that we have for supplies and materials, but we make do with what we've got most times. And then our non-public services are required to have funding for Immaculate Conception as well. We provide a speech and language teacher part-time there for $22,415.85. I think we have 2 more. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little longer. IDEA, early childhood special ed, is for our preschool special ed. We have, Kelly, how many IEP students do we have at preschool? 32 students on IEPs. Our allocation is $20,184.74. And again, this is to support the needs of preschool students with disabilities in Claymont School District. How we use this fund, this is pretty cut and dry. You can turn to the next page or next slide. We set aside $19,000, and it is to bring an additional support aide / substitute teacher for the preschool. Preschool is required to have a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Ratio, thank you. Yeah, a ratio for students. And if a teacher calls off sick and we don't have a sub, or if an aide calls off sick and we don't have a sub, we have to close the whole preschool. So we use this fund to avoid having to shut the preschool down and to keep it open. So we have an additional aide that's there. When everybody's there working, this extra aide will help provide support in various areas. But if somebody's absent, this keeps us from having to close the preschool. and sending them back home or keeping them home and parents having to work. That's not good for anybody. Set aside about $500 for training costs because they're required to have a lot more training at the preschool level than our general staff, and instructional supplies to support preschool students. So if we have a student who needs a special chair, or we have 3-year-olds that can't sit up on their own, they need a high chair when they're eating lunch. So we have a few supply dollars to provide those things that they need. And I think one more. Okay, early childhood education. That is another grant that comes from the state. It's not really a federal one. We get $221,000 from this. And this is from parents that qualify because of poverty to receive assistance for preschool. Each child that we have that fills out the early childhood education grant gets $4,500 for the district. So we have about that, well, $221,000. And basically that pays the salary of 2 of our teachers out of the 5 that we have. So I think the next, all right, and yeah, you went the other way. Okay, that basically tells you there's some instructional materials costs also for ECE and training costs as well there to help with some of the requirements that they have to do. I think that's it. All right, so what I'm asking you guys today is, once you've heard what we're doing with our budgets, I believe Kim has it in her section today to approve. We wanted to make you knowledgeable about how we're spending the money, and then you're going to approve the grants. I'm also going to stick this out on the website, so we're publicly letting everybody else know that are interested how we're using our funds. Okay,
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Anybody have questions for Mrs. Miles?
No, just to clarify, I know I always ask these all the time. IEP, that's the individual education plan, is that what that is?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so students get that assigned to them. What was the PBIS?
Positive behavior intervention support. So
Okay.
that is a requirement by law to support students that are having behavioral issues. There's a way that we're supposed to be addressing them by reteaching, teaching them expectations, and there's some money to reinforce what they're doing if they're doing the right things.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Miles. Any other administrators have anything to add to their reports that already turned in? I see your head shaking no. Okay. CEA, Mrs. Lloyd, nothing? Anybody else? Okay. Treasurer? Yes.
We'll start with reviewing September's monthly financials. So we're 3 months into fiscal year 26. Starting with revenues, our total revenues are slightly higher than anticipated due to, we only get property taxes in February and August, so we got our August allocation, so that bumped up our percentage. So we should be 25%, we're at 28.54%. That's just under 1% lower than what we were at this time last year. We did receive the homestead and rollback taxes from the state, and our state funding at this point is just under 5% lower than what we were at this point last year. So the chart shows where most of our revenue is coming from there. On the expenditure side, we're slightly under budget, 22.18%. We are 6.44% higher than we were this time last year, with 79.6% of that related to salaries and expenditures of our total expenditures going out. Capital purchases are driving this a little bit higher number than last year's figure because we did more projects at the beginning of the year rather than holding off to the end of the fiscal year. So looking solely at the general fund, to date, total revenues total $6.5 million with total expenses at 5.1. We did have a deficit spend in September of $117,000, but we do still show a surplus for the fiscal year at 1.3. And we're sitting at a true days cash of 136.58 days. These were the reimbursements I sought for the expenditures in September for our federal and state reimbursements, as well as our national lunch program there at the bottom. So looking just at fund balances then, we have $9.8 million then sitting as a total for all funds. And then the state has also, with the new budget, has changed our my dates of having a 5-year forecast. Actually, it's a 4-year forecast, current plus 4 years, but I went ahead and did the 5-year forecast because that's kind of what I'm used to doing anyways. But it used to be in November and May with an update. This year, they changed it to October and February, and come next year, it's August and February. So they're making it earlier to try to catch schools that are starting to go into fiscal watch and stuff. So just going over the 5-year forecast that was put together for this year. For this fiscal year, we're forecasting $23.6 million in revenue with total expenses of 22.6, and so hopefully a surplus of $1 million. That helps our true days cash leading into next year, but as you see in the outlying layers, it hinders back downward. And then the chart at the bottom shows the surplus and the deficit by year. So this year and next year, we're showing a decent surplus, but then by that 3rd year, we're basically breaking even, and then we start deficit spending in year 4 and 5. So revenues for this fiscal year, we're looking at a projected increase in revenues of 4% and a 1% decrease in expenses. That leads to that expenses we had several retirements this past year, and so we had higher paid staff members retire and bringing in lower pay. So we're seeing the adjustments in that expenses. Even though we've got a 1% increase in salaries, but that's because of the negotiated agreements and their salary increases each year. Real estate is 28% of our overall revenues. And our interest, of course, is kind of at a stagnant with seeing interest income on the downward. This next slide is taken from our EMIS information. This was what was sent over, I believe it was September 30th. So we have 1,435 total students with 227 students in our special ed population. That next graph kind of shows you the breakdown of category 1s, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I know each of those categories means something I'm not exactly familiar, but each of those categories have a component of if it's orthopedically or autism or that type of stuff. In tax year 2024 for property values, we in our district was $265,897. Go back up, Bill. With 1 mil generating $265,000, and a median income for our district was around $44,000. Our state base for funding is at 59%, and that state funding produces $4,870 per student in that. And we also have 121 gifted students that attend our district. So the top revenue drivers for this forecast, real estate is 20% of total revenue with state funding at 58%, and public utility pub is at 7% of our total revenue. Our expense drivers are 55% of the revenue goes to salaries, 27% goes to benefits, which can cover any like insurances, retirement, Medicare. Those are all considered the benefits. And then 11% is the next highest for purchase services. So projected or for expenses for 26 is $22,633,990, and just a graph that shows you where those expenditures go. This slide shows what our ending cash balances are projected at the end of each year. So this year, we're looking at $8.3 million, and 5 years out, it would be down to $6.2 million. This slide just gives you a visual of what our salaries and benefits, which we expect that because being a school district, we're a service-oriented organization. We're here to service our students. So you can see how that reflects over the years of the forecast. All I have.
Questions? Then we'll move on to board discussion. I do have a statement that I do want to read on behalf of the Board of Education. On April 14, 2025, the board voted to convert 4.2 mills allocated as inside millage of the current operating expenses to permanent improvement. The board discussed moving the inside millage at the March 10th board meeting and then advertised through public notice and a public hearing in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code. We had a special board meeting in April, and then we voted to make this move at our regular April board meeting. Over the past 4 years, the district has utilized $7 million in ESSER funds to support both operating and capital expenditures. Those one-time federal funds are now fully expended and will not be replaced. At the same time, the state of Ohio has yet to fully fund our district under the Fair School Funding Plan. This combination of funding uncertainty and rising operational costs underscores the importance of proactive, responsible financial management. The board reviewed the capital improvement plan for the district before we took the initiative to move the 4.2 inside millage. With the lack of state revenue stream of monies to maintain our facilities, we proceeded to invest in our students by approving the movement of the 4.2 inside mills. We did not make this decision lightly. We understand the impact it has on our community and appreciate that not everyone will agree with it. However, in the interest of fiscal responsibility and ensuring the long-term stability of our schools, this adjustment was necessary. For the average homeowner, this will result in an increase of approximately $138 a year or 38 cents a day for every $100,000 of a home's assessed value. For those that have homestead exemption, it will be closer to $95 a year or 27 cents a day. This action is permitted under the Ohio Revised Code and is a long-standing practice used by school districts across the state for decades. We did follow all legal requirements for notification and procedure and made this decision thoughtfully, transparently, and with the district's best interests in mind. We as a board are entrusted with making decisions in what we believe to be in the best interest of our district. We also recognize that not everyone will agree with every decision. However, our focus remains steadfast on doing what we believe is best to support the students and the long-term success of the district. Each of us sitting up here has received several phone calls and many in-person discussions, as well as we received a handful of emails after approving this 4.2 mills. I would encourage anyone, if you have questions specific that you want to talk about with any of us board members, we are more than happy to have those one-on-one discussions. We take our role as board members very seriously. We do not like that we are not getting all the funding that we need from the state. We don't like having to do this. But in the interest of financial stability for the district, it was a decision that we made and that we moved forward with back in April. Treasurer's report and recommendations. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Martha,
A second.
Saul will second.
Okay, I have several items on here. First, approve the financial report for the month of
Excuse me,
September.
I'm sorry.
you.
Please don't speak while the people up here are speaking. Thank you.
Approve the financial report for the month of September 25 as presented. The payment of bills for the September 25 as presented. We had minutes from the regular board meeting of September 8th. I have a renewal contract through SE Strategic Solution for our fiscal software for requisitions and purchase orders and invoices and check printings. That will run from November 1st of this year to October 31st of next year. I had the student activity budgets that were presented by each advisor for approval. We're accepting the following donations: the $250 from the Moomaw Foundation for Project Lead the Way, and $5,000 that was received from the Eagle Nest Charities for Guys with Ties. Approve the federal program budgets that Jody went over in her presentation. And then also, we added on through the addendum, the financial forecast that somehow I forgot to add on to that.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf?
Yes. Okay, I need a motion and a second for superintendent recommendations. I'll make a motion. Lois, I'll second it.
Okay, the items we have are, for item A, we have some resignations for Chloe Love, Brittany Smith, Mikkel DePuy, and then as we add an addendum, Richard Waters. Item B, a one-year limited contract, 90-day probationary period. We did have some hires for that. Samantha Dorland. Unfortunately, we didn't have a board meeting prior to Richard Waters was hiring, but before he resigned, but he would be hired, and then Devin Anthony. We have employment for preferred substitute for Michelle Kazurka. She would be working at $115 per day, and that is effective the 22nd of September. Tammy Reynolds is a home instruction tutor at $27 per hour. Authorized William Bonanno to prepare, sign, submit all E-rate forms related to documents on behalf of the districts for duration of his employment. What E-rate is that we get for technology, by filling out E-rate, we get reimbursements for items such as servers, for wiring for buildings and things. So E-rate's very important to the district in that aspect for us. We have the elementary school. You're approving the usage on Saturday, the 8th of November from 9 to 12 for Clara Warner and Nicole Miles. We have a band volunteer for Joshua Fox. We had approved the resolution to authorize for installment payment for lease purchase financing for one or more series of installation payment obligations, lease purchase obligations, certificates of participation, issues of tax exempt obligations, and our taxable obligations, providing for the acquisition, construction, equipping, and improving the real and personal property of the school district purpose, including one or more installment payments agreements, ground leases, lease purchase agreements, and or trust and indentures in matters related to thereto. Approve the proposed statement of work and master service agreement for Forerunner Technologies for phone upgrades. We have a list of substitutes for classified as presented. We have the item K minus Mr. Host for tuition reimbursement. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions regarding that? Roll call.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Host?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf? Yes.
I need a motion and a second for item L, superintendent item.
Yeah, we're going to lump in also Cindy Host to the construction committee, but lumping in approve the tuition reimbursement for Craig Host at $1,200.
So moved.
A second.
Sorry for that, it's all. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison?
Yes.
Mrs. Host?
Abstain.
Mrs. Wolf? Yes.
And motion and second for item M.
So move.
I'll second. That is to appoint Solomon Peters to the construction committee. Roll call.
Ms. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Host,
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Wolf.
Yes.
And motion and a second to approve the recommendations from the athletic director, Justin Jones, please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
We have approved some volunteers for baseball and Dan Bloom and Derek Grimm. We have some spring athletic supplementals for baseball, wrestling, spring and winter, baseball, wrestling, and track.
Any discussion on that? Roll call.
Mrs. Host,
Yes.
Mrs. Grandison,
Yes.
Ms. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Abstain.
and Mrs. Wolf.
Yes. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Martha?